In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
Monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations.
He went to war to prevent NATO, more NATO close to its borders.
Flashback.
This is fundamentally not about NATO expansion.
Defense budget. Why? Security. Fear. We need an enemy. We have a new enemy. China, Russia, that we're fighting right now, right? It's like my whole life has been some sort of war. Why? Because we need a conflict. You need an enemy in order to request more funds. That's what it is. If there's no threat, how can you request more money? You can't. So you have to have an enemy.
It's always this story of the evil man. This is basically how international politics is explained to the stupid. It's an evil man out there, and he has to be killed, and when he's dead, everything is fine. And it's a very stupid story, because basically international politics is about access to oil, to gas, to resources. It's about the extensions of military alliance like NATO. It's about regime change. It's about opening up markets so you can import. It's about, it's about money.
In our own interest in preserving a free and open international order. That's what we need to do. We've done it before. And by the way, we have to remember that the bulk of this money is going right back into the U.S. economy to make those weapons, including good-paying jobs in some 40 states across the United States.
I like the structural path we're on here. As long as we help Ukraine with the weapons they need and the economic support, they will fight to the last person.
Nancy Pelosi and Ted Cruz aren't like arms dealers, but they can still get rich off of war.
Everything is gone! God!
Because if you're a member of Congress, you can buy stocks in defense companies like Lockheed Martin, and a lot of them do. At least 47 members of Congress and their spouses hold between $2 million and $6.7 million worth of stocks in top defense companies. Oh, and it's not partisan. Of the 36 House members who hold stock in military contracts, 20 are Republican and 16 are Democrats. It's almost split in half. I mean, let's get into the details here. Like, which of the congressmen have the most money invested in defense companies? Good question. The winner for this year of Who's Getting Rich Off War is Kevin Hern, a Republican from Oklahoma, who owns over $1 million in stock from defense contractors. $880,000 alone in Honeywell, which is an aerospace contractor that Congress really seems to love. And notice how well their stock has done, especially since 2009, when Obama sent a bunch of new troops to Afghanistan. I mean, this is a lawmaker who has to give approval when we go to war, and he stands to gain if we do. But wait, the conflict of interest gets worse when you look at somebody like Senator Gary Peters, a Democratic senator from Michigan, who is a member of the Armed Services Committee, which is the committee that authorizes the Pentagon's budget. Here's his financial disclosure. He's invested in a lot of things, including Raytheon Technology Corporation. Raytheon is a major government contractor for wartime things. This guy gives money to the Pentagon to do war things with private contractors, and he is invested in the private contractors. In July, this guy's committee voted to increase defense spending by $24 billion, which is more than President Biden even proposed. So in very direct terms, this guy is voting to put more money in his pocket. That is how our system works. It's just like, come on.
Didn't start in February last year. the war started in 2014, and since 2014, NATO allies have provided support to Ukraine with training, with equipment, so the Ukrainian armed forces were much stronger in 2022 than they were in 2014. And of course that made a huge difference when President Putin decided to attack Ukraine. President Putin actually sent a draft treaty that he wanted NATO to sign to promise no more NATO enlargement. That was what he sent us. And that was a precondition for not invade Ukraine. Of course, we didn't sign that. So he went to war to prevent NATO, more NATO close to its borders.
Flashback.
This is fundamentally not about NATO expansion.
It was never about NATO enlargement.
It's not about NATO.
It's not about NATO expanding toward Russia.
This was never about NATO.
It's absolutely nothing to do with NATO expansionism.
And it has nothing to do with NATO.
This is not about NATO.
It's not about NATO.
It's not really about NATO.
This is not about NATO.
Seriously, it's not about NATO.
This was never about NATO.
It was never about NATO. Let's be honest.
This doesn't have anything to do with NATO.
Nothing to do with NATO at all.
Yeah, he's claiming it's like security purposes, but we can see the clear reason.
But NATO is not the reason.
This is not about NATO expansion. This is about the democratic expansion.
Ukraine bans religious organizations.
We are protecting democracy right now.
Ukraine is banning political parties.
Because it's a democracy.
Ukraine restricts books and music.
It's about democracy.
Ukraine won't hold elections.
It's about democracy.
And it's not about NATO expansion.
This war in Ukraine is not about NATO.
It's not about NATO.
That's not about NATO.
It has nothing to do with NATO.
Nothing to do with NATO expansion.
It's not about NATO expansion.
Nothing to do with NATO.
It isn't really about NATO.
It's not about NATO.
It's not about NATO enlargement. In fact, it has nothing to do with NATO.
It's not about NATO encroaching.
It was not about NATO. NATO is just a fictitious, imaginary adversary for Mr. Putin and for Russia.
It was never about NATO.
That's not what it's been about. It's been about him trying to expand his sphere of influence.
Hang on, I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive. Obviously, Russia has wished for a sphere of influence over Ukraine, but if the West had not challenged Russian interests so directly, I think that there was a chance to avoid this.
He went to war to prevent NATO, more NATO close to its borders.
Flashback.
This is fundamentally not about NATO expansion.